Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Capricorn, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of May. I hope you are well. I'm using the Llewellyn Tarot for you today. So, if the reading resonates and you'd like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended at the end. Obviously, if you support me on Patreon, you get access to all that extra stuff for free. So, that's worth bearing in mind. But let's just crack straight on with this. Can I have 3 cards for Capricorn, please? Well, there's the first one. We have the Six of Wands in your recent past. It did sort of come out a bit sideways, so I'm gonna kind of put it kind of cockeyed on the table there because I feel like that's important. Current energy, please. We have the Six of Swords, which has also come out sideways, and it's coming towards. We've got the Strength card in reverse. We've got the Six of Cups at the bottom of the deck here. It's followed by the Three of Wands, and immediately I feel like there's something that felt kind of relatively victorious that seems to have gone a little bit sideways. Like the way that the cards are sitting on my table, right? We've got this one here that's kind of sat like that, and then we've got this one, and then we end up with the Strength card in reverse, like this, right? This is an interesting set of cards. Let's pop those there. Let's get some clarifiers and see what's going on, because it feels like there's a situation that felt like it was really, really good, and it's just kind of slowly going downhill for you. Now, I don't want you to panic a little bit too much about that, because we are, as we speak, we're certainly in the shadow period of Mercury retrograde. And it's getting ready to start going backwards, or at least appearing to go backwards, right? So, the fact that the Six of Cups is at the bottom of the deck does indicate that there are kind of past situations that you are being required to go back over, because there's something about either the way that you perceived it at the time or the way that you're currently perceiving it that is making something that felt like a win feel much more like a loss now. And that's okay. You just got to get out in front of it and understand what the retrograde energy is trying to get us to look at. Interestingly enough, something that I haven't mentioned in any of the readings, and I'm sure all of you know, is that we're going into a pretty intense eclipse season. It's already started. A humdinger of an eclipse cycle, if I'm to understand it correctly. So there is a lot of stuff that is being brought up to the surface so that it can be released. The eclipses, I can't remember which way around it is, but they're like moons on steroids, I believe. And we've got a full moon in Scorpio with a partial eclipse. A little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing and all that, right? But that's coming up towards the middle of the month. I think it may be around about the 16th. And so we might find that there is quite a lot that is coming up. The purpose of that is to allow you to release it, because what I don't want is for you to feel disempowered by something in the past, which is how it seems to be coming out here. So tell me about the Six of Wands. We've got the Lover's card. We've got the Seven of Swords here. Tell me about the Six of Swords, please. We have the Knight of Cups. I'll just show you those 2 cards there as well. So we've got the Knight of Cups, that's Pisces energy. And we've got the Page of Wands. Tell me about this. Okay, straight out. We've got Strength reversed, but we've got the Star and we've got the Empress. Now, there's the Six of Cups at the bottom of that deck too. And we've got the Hierophant and the Three of Swords sat behind it. So we've got Taurian energy there with the Hierophant. And, that can speak to work. It can speak to those organized institutional kind of establishments of society, or of our own structures, businesses, your workplace, your school, your university, sometimes a social institution of marriage and things like that. I mean, for some of you, it could well be that there are some old pains resurfacing from a relationship that broke down, and it would be an established relationship with that Hierophant there, that are coming to the surface, that are being asked to be dealt with. For others of you, it may be, a pain of it's a pain of an old situation, right? It's something in your foundation, something that's made you who you are. But I feel like there's an aspect of this that is, it's almost like here is an opportunity for you to revisit a narrative that you've been telling yourself for a long time and see it in a different perspective, right? Because there's something about the perspective that you are holding and the narrative that you are telling yourself about this old situation that I feel is leaving you feeling quite disempowered. And it feels like it's kind of always there. It's always under the surface with you. And this is an opportunity to kind of look at it properly and go, well, actually, I wasn't this, or I wasn't that, or I was this and I was that, and kind of see the situation more clearly. I'm going to pull another deck. I thought it was you. Right, I'm going to hold on to this one as well. So in your recent past, we've got the Six of Wands. Now, that's a really good card. It's a card of success and feeling victorious, right? It's a card of Leo, interestingly enough, too, right? So we've got that kind of conspicuous aspect to it because Leo is visible. It's the sun, right? It's always there. And it's here with the Lover's card and the Seven of Swords. Now, for some of you, I cannot ignore the fact that this does seem to revolve around a past relationship of sorts, right? So you've got to take the readings as they resonate to you, and what could be a theme that is running through a relationship reading for someone else might actually be a work reading, or something for something else, for someone else. Just notice we've got the Five of Cups at the bottom of the deck here. This is a situation whereby you kind of feel like you've been done wrong by some sort of relationship together. The Seven of Swords is a card of, it can be a card of many things, but a card of deceit. And as I'm looking at these two here, there is some sort of deceit that you have felt marred a previous relationship. And it is something here with this Five of Cups and the Six of Cups underneath there that kind of feels like it's been sat with you. Now, I'm going to pull another card for this. And it's something that's keeping you restricted. It's something that's keeping you stuck. Again, right from the off, it's felt very much like this is about looking at the narratives that you are telling yourself and looking at the ones that are keeping you in a very narrow frame of mind, right? Where it's almost replete with opportunities to project, right? So if you feel like a victim in a certain situation, right, any notion, I'm just going to point out this card here, Seven of Wands at the bottom of the deck, any notion of anything that's coming even close to that or is going to leave you feeling defensive, really defensive. And when we feel defensive, we strike out at people. And what the cards are saying here is there's something about this narrative that isn't quite right. It may be that the facts are correct, but it might be that you are looking at it in the wrong way and possibly even holding on to it so strongly that you cannot release it and let it go. Okay? That's Seven of Swords. Thank you. Got the Four of Wands again, right? I'm really struggling to see this in any other way other than kind of looking at an old relationship, but I will do my best. Four of Wands is foundational energy, right? But it's also the card of marriage, it's the card of weddings, it's the card of home. And I wonder, Capricorn, if you've ever really felt like you were home since this point. Now, this sort of cockeyed Six of Wands that we've got here might well indicate the fact that you have felt like you have really put yourself on back on your feet after whatever this was, and that you are successful. But the fact that it's kind of coming out slightly off center, right? Slightly off that sense of kind of I've got everything sorted, means to me that there's something foundational underneath here that isn't quite right. It isn't quite sitting properly. And it's very much to do with this, my God, that's my stomach, to do with this previous narrative, or this narrative of a previous situation that you have experienced, because there's something about it that is stopping you from being able to be as successful as you could be. Now, for some of you, this actually might go back as far as childhood. It might have had its roots in childhood and then be built on by another relationship. We're always on the lookout for those cycles that just keep repeating with us. And I feel like this is one of those situations whereby, you know, the thing that's kind of coming to mind now, the thing that's making you feel a little less successful than you would like, is the latest iteration of cycles that have actually been occurring since childhood. Now, the way to deal with these is not to just look at this one relationship here. It's to track back the theme. You know, look for the coherent thread right the way through until you get back to where it originated, because that's about pulling it out at the root there. Now, when we move into your current energy, we've got the Six of Swords, and that came up sideways too. So the Six of Swords in the upright would have you moving away from something that was quite tempestuous, something that was emotionally quite draining for you. I feel that very strongly. And something where you didn't really know where you were going, but you know you had to leave. Or you knew you had to leave where this is, right? So you're sailing into calmer waters. So whatever was proving to be problematic, that which you were sailing away from, now, you know, kind of sailing off into the distance. Now, when the card shows up in the reverse, there's an aspect of coming back to this, right? And we've got double sixes showing up here, which is interesting. Actually, the Lovers is 6 too. There's a lot of 6 energy here, and 6 energy is about togetherness. It's about family. It's about being part of something, you know, an integral part of something. But it's come up sideways here for you. So you are neither going back, but neither are you moving forwards exactly. You kind of seem to have hit this sort of stasis where perhaps the spectre of feelings that you have had in the past have come to the surface, and you've not really been able to work out exactly why that is. Because look at me, I've moved on, I'm successful now, you know, I've got over all of this. Well, the cards are saying you haven't really got over this, and that this retrograde energy, perhaps even this eclipse energy, is coming in to show you where you have not actually moved on quite as much as you had thought you had. You know, we've got this Knight of Cups and the Page of Wands here. You know, the Knight of Cups is Piscean energy, but it is that act of taking your cup and offering it to someone else, you know. And it could well be that you're seeing places now where you actually aren't giving your cup as fully as you could do, and maybe that's making you wonder why. You know, maybe you just don't want to commit to what is in front of you, whatever relationships are right in front of you. And likely part of that is going to be a fear of getting back into a situation that left you feeling really quite disempowered in the past. Now, the addition of the Page of Wands is an interesting one, because for me, that is a card of getting quite excited and creative about the future, or what the future can bring. It could be speaking to the way that actually your emotions and your creative output are very, very closely linked. And so where your emotions are being compromised, which it feels like they kind of are at the moment, it's having a knock-on effect to how excited you can get about what it is that you've got in front of you. I mean, the simple fact might be that you're not actually that excited, even though you've, you know, managed this certain level of success, that there isn't really anything that is lighting you up at the moment. Hiccups. We've got the Eight of Wands, Page of Swords, and the Fool. Yeah, I mean, the message is really very clear here, and that is that there is a dialogue being opened up now between you and your emotions, and the full point of this, the full force of this, is coming into land with you very, very soon, because we've got this Page of Swords here. Now, the Page of Swords for me is all about mental expansion, right? It's about how you change your view of the world. And did I not say this right from the off? It's about changing the narrative that you were telling yourself up in here, right? Now, if you look at that, what we've got is somebody who is trying to move forwards, but is feeling completely victimized by everything that keeps coming up behind them there, to the degree that he's having to turn around and look, right? He can't fully commit to going forwards. But for you this month, I think it's really, really important that rather than trying to get away from that, and rather than actually swinging your sword at these incoming wands, that maybe it's time to actually just stand there, let the wands land, and see what it is that they have to say, right? See how it changes your viewpoint, see how it changes your perspective. So we've got the Page of Cups at the bottom of the deck here. Now all of these 3 pages together, they do speak about learning something new, but it is building on the back of something that you already know. Right? Now that's the important thing. So to that end, we could absolutely see the pages indicating, you know, the way that you see the world, the way that you act in the world, what you get excited about in the world, and how you feel about the world, all taking a little bit of a shift, going in a slightly different direction this month, for a very, very important reason. Is you have the Fool here. Now the Fool came out very strong, very much in the upright, and it speaks to a new cycle beginning for you. But the issue is, one must be ready to accept that new cycle, and the things that are coming up in here for you now are the things that are in some ways holding you back. They're acting like those like concrete boots on you. Actually, they're stopping you from progressing. I mean, the Fool card also talks about trust, and I think with that 7 of Swords there and the Lover's card, we do have an indication that your trust has been somewhat broken by, you know, events of the past. More so, we might actually find that this is like I said, like a consistent theme through your life. Things that you thought you could rely on, people that you thought you could rely on, relationships that you thought you could rely on, ultimately always end up going a bit wrong. And rather than looking at the broader thread, or even actually taking each case on its merits, what it's done for you is kind of like repress the level of trust that you are capable of giving out to the world, right? For fear of more damage coming in. It's like, oh, I've only got this much trust left, I'm going to keep this really, really safe. You know, people are going to have to work really, really hard to get these things. You're very, very private anyway, so you're not kind of given to just, you know, opening up and letting everybody see what is, and just giving your trust out willy-nilly. Like your trust has to be earned, respect has to be earned, all of these kind of things. But it's almost like there's only one level where you're going to allow people to actually get to. You're not going to let them move beyond that. And the problem is that is keeping you stuck there too, right? Which makes perfect sense when we get to this 8. We get to this Strength card, which is numbered 8, which is in the reverse. Now, this is not cool. I don't enjoy this for you, because this is a card of growth. This is a card of expansion, right? And personal development and spiritual growth, certainly too. It is about becoming very strong. Ooh, Soul Strong, actually, which is a book by a very, very, very intelligent chap, which I absolutely recommend to everyone if you are in the midst of some sort of, well, it's recommended reading anyway. It's by Richard Abbott. There you go. Soul Strong. Like that. If you're kind of spiritually leveling up and you need something to kind of peg what's going on with you in, I recommend that book, right? But this becomes completely disempowered. This is a feeling of somebody who is kind of stuck and does not feel like they can push out. It is, in its worst case scenario, somebody who is deliberately keeping themselves restricted, not allowing themselves to grow, keeping themselves within their comfort zone. And this will not fly for you, Capricorn, because what we've got underneath is the Star, and we've got the Empress. There is a huge lesson here in a return to hoping and dreaming and you know, having a vision for the future, which is you healed and you enjoying yourself, you abundant with all sorts of possibilities. You know, we've got the Ten of Swords appearing here. Ooh. Oh, that's really interesting, because the Ten of Swords was actually in the reverse, and as I've turned over the other cards, these are also reversed. So you have the Ten of Swords in reverse, you have the King of Swords in reverse, and you have the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. And rather than an admonishment of being all like, well, you're not doing your work, you're not doing all these things that you should do, it's more of a kind of bump to you, right? It's going, yeah, you've done all right with the tools that you've had available, but actually you've stopped yourself using some really, really incredible things that you have at your disposal. If you were to just let those out, right, we would be clearing a lot of space. This is absolutely about clearing space for you, because this Ten of Swords indicates that you have not let something end, right? Something is still very much ongoing here in your heart. Now, you might be able to ignore it on a day-to-day level, but there are times where it pops up and the pain is just as visceral as it was whenever whatever it was happened before, to the degree that it absolutely clouds your thinking and it clouds your judgment. Now, I think for most of you, if you were to sit and meditate on that, you would all be able to bring up at least one example of where that happens, because it seems like it's a loss of objectivity. And it's a loss of objectivity because the part of you that needs to be dealing with this is your heart, right? It is indicated by the Cups cards. So we've got the Knight of Cups and we have the Page of Cups there, right? They're about how you identify emotion, how you understand the value of emotion, how you choose to learn through emotion. And there's something kind of battened down over this. And like, here is an opportunity for you to identify exactly what that is and release yourself from something that has made you feel like stuck. You know, actually I would feel like universally unsupported in some ways, you know. But this is really important here, because something needs to end, right? What we want is to turn this way up, so that we have completion, we have an ending, as painful as it is, but then we have the ability to release it, let it go, and the objectivity returns, the clear thinking returns, and the ability to make good judgments on a situation that is in front of you rather than one that you are reacting to from the past is kind of given back to you. And notice also that we have the Empress at the bottom of the deck here, and there's this sense of you being abundant in many ways, but absolutely stricken in others, right? But they're kind of low level and they need bringing up to the surface so that you can see what they are. Because this Wheel of Fortune in reverse wants to go the right way up. It wants to turn for you. But while you are keeping yourself stuck, while there is something that leaves you feeling disempowered, then disempowered you will be. Like, you're not working to your full potential in any respect whatsoever, you know. And the Empress is here twice. Right? There is abundance lined up for you. There are all sorts of wonderful things that are lined up for you. But there is a certain opening, clearing of the decks, making space that is required before these things come in, before that healing can enter that space and you can open up fully to accept what is coming towards you. You know, in some ways, I guess some people could see this as a negative reading, but actually I think it's a glorious reading for you, Capricorn, because it's giving you a very, very obvious, very distinct issue that you have. Something that when it rises up makes you feel really shit. Very defensive, very reactive to things. And it's giving you an opportunity to just let it go. Process it, release it, let it go. And be able to turn your face, just as this chap here is in this Ten of Swords, towards the rising sun, towards the dawn, right? It's always darkest before the dawn, but if you don't let that happen, the sun can never rise. And it's that kind of stuckness here. Like I said, you may be wildly successful in other aspects of your life, but this seems to me something that cuts so deep. You're keeping it very, 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 very battened down, and it wants out, Capricorn. It needs to come out so that you can align with where you are supposed to go, because there's something beautiful lining up for you here. I mean, it might be a new relationship, but it might just be your sense of peace. It might just be healing for you. It might just be the ability to really just enjoy yourself and not be worrying about anything else. You know, these are gifts in and of themselves. So I think this is tremendously positive, actually. You know, a lot of us, we kind of wander around with not a clue how to fix ourselves. You know, there's this kind of idea that there's something it's a little bit awry with us, but we don't know what it is. And it's like somebody giving you a roadmap. Here's the thing, there it is, fix that and you'll be right on your way, you know. I think that's great. So I'm going to go over to Vimeo now. We're going to pull this apart a little bit more because it seems like it's going to be a pretty intense month for you, actually. And rather than fighting that feeling of disempowerment, I really do think that it is worth turning to face it and seeing where the root of it is and all the different examples of it as they have manifested over the years. And really deal with it. You know, your card is the devil card. It's, for me, it's a month of kind of looking at your demons rather than pretending that they're not there, so that you can see them for what they are, which is illusory, right? Remember that everything to do with the devil has an illusory aspect to it, really. Well, not everything, but most things. And particularly when it's indicating a way in which we are keeping ourselves trapped, right? It all comes down to consent at the end of the day. You consent to feel like this, or you do not consent to feel like this. And then you release it and you let it go. Wittering. Anyway, I'm going over to Vimeo. If you would like to join me there, the link is in the description box, or you can just go over to Patreon if you're a patron, and it'll be up there already. But if not to worry. Just expect it to be intense, right? But expect it to be intense. And then when the intensity arises, just sit down with it and say, hello, what have you come to show me? You know, there's nothing to be afraid of here, Capricorn. And if you can trust that, if you can roll with it just for this month, I think that you're going to come out the other side with that strength card, turned the right way up this time. Certainly ready to face what June has to bring, and for everyone, June seems to be quite explosive in some ways. So, yeah. All right. Know that I love you all very, very much. I'll see you soon.